And yes, for the person who released that anger, who was able to relieve themselves of that stress, did they receive instantaneous gratification? But did they truly acquire long lasting satisfaction? No. But it's crazy too, because in those instances, do we have the ability to have such retrospect or acknowledgement? In those instances where we really have to just fucking blow up and give it to somebody that didn't deserve it, do we see like, whoa, like, wow, like my behaviors really were flawed because this person didn't deserve it. But it's crazy how life works like that. Like sometimes it's really like giving our evil to innocence. Do we realize the bigger issue within ourselves? And it's not to suggest that you're evil or that you're beyond reproach. It's just like, damn, like I've been holding that in for so long, or I've had that fester within myself for so long that I didn't realize it until I hurt someone that didn't even need to be hurt.
Now it's crashing in on me.
So a lot of the origins to this commentary relates to spiritual insight, feeling a bit more knowledgeable on the topic or the perspectives that I hold, given the confirmation I've received from my spiritual guides, from my ancestors, from divinity, so on and so forth. That is why I'm having this conversation. But moreover, although I felt knowledgeable enough, although I had the confirmation, I guess you can say I lacked the confidence to come forth on my platform to really have this conversation. And I was further encouraged by the YouTuber I Am Brenda J. She currently lives in Jacksonville, Florida, yet a lot of her story relates to when she was living in Tallahassee, Florida. Tallahassee, I feel like I say it weird. Tallahassee, Florida. And basically, while she was in Tallahassee, Florida, she married this 35-year-old man at the age of 19. The ordained official who married her to this man was her father. Her father was a sex offender. This man was a sex offender. Her father had HIV, and so did her husband. But at the time, she wasn't knowledgeable of his status. So inevitably, throughout their marriage, she was having sex with him. She got pregnant, and she ended up finding out through her pregnancy that she contracted HIV from her husband. So if you don't know who I Am Brenda J is, definitely check that woman out. She is a beautiful spirit and just someone to listen to. Her story is for anybody and everybody that needs to hear it. But I really wanted to mention I Am Brenda J because she encouraged me, given certain points that she mentioned throughout her commentary that related to the conversation I wanted to have on mine. And basically, she was just discussing the unjust treatment she received in that relationship. Everything that she went through with that man was not a reflection of what she did to him or what she didn't do for him. It had a lot to do with him. But oftentimes when you're in those situations and you can't understand why the fuck somebody is treating you so terribly and you've treated them so terrifically, it makes you question more of yourself than it does of that person. So that is what, led me to this commentary today. So basically, take for example someone whom is easily angered. Throughout this life, we have many vices. Some are more severe than others. For me, I have a control issue. That is my vice that I've had, that I will always have, but it is something that I am improving. It is something that I'm creating healthy boundaries for. But take, for example, someone who suffers from anger, because it is something you suffer from. You know what I mean? Just like alcoholism, just like a sexual deviancy. It's all a compulsion, you know what I'm saying? And it can be triggered. Even my control issue, it can be triggered. So nonetheless, take, for example, someone whom is easily angered. And the reason why I wanted to utilize someone whom is easily angered is because it's so trivialized. So again, getting back to my point, someone whom is easily angered. Oftentimes when this person chooses to release their anger or to relieve themselves of this stress, this built up energy, they take it out on somebody that is of close proximity or close relation. May that be a familial relative, may that be a friend. They're going to take it out on whomever is closest to them. May it be proximity or relation. And oftentimes you find when this anger is expressed, the person that is the recipient of such a release didn't necessarily deserve the sheer quality and or quantity of violence, of defamation, of hate speech and or slurs. Like they didn't deserve what they received, but they got it. And yes, for the person who released that anger, who was able to relieve themselves of that stress, did they receive instantaneous gratification? But did they truly acquire long lasting satisfaction? No. So it kind of goes back to that analogy where we refer to anger as being a Coke bottle that has Mentos in it, and you just shake it up, you shake it up, you shake it up. And as soon as you release the lid, everything just goes everywhere. So, yes, you have the gratification of being released, but in the end, are you truly satisfied? Because what was lost cannot be gained, and you still have to sit with yourself and try to figure out, like, why was I so angry and why did I feel like this was most appropriate. But it's crazy too, because in those instances, do we have the ability to have such retrospect or acknowledgement? In those instances where we really have to just fucking blow up and give it to somebody that didn't deserve it, do we see, like, whoa, like, wow, like my behaviors really were flawed because this person didn't deserve it? Almost like, for example, like DMX. I love to use DMX as an example. I feel like a lot of times in his life was he able to justify or excuse many of his behaviors, because in a way, what people did to him or what he experienced with other people, they deserved, the treatment that they received from him, or they deserve. But when you look at Tashera and how he treated Tashera, she didn't deserve anything that he gave to her. And in those instances where he was able to acknowledge his treatment of Tashera, did he realize, like, wow, no, like this is a serious issue of self than it is of anybody else or anything that Tashera could or couldn't do. But sometimes, we justify, just like he justified, like, well, Tashera didn't do this, or Tashera did do this. But inevitably, it's in those big blow up moments where you realize, like, dang, like, no, like, it's nobody but me. And you have to really sit with yourself, if that makes any sense. You know? If that makes any sense. And I think expressing it through the terms of anger makes it make a bit more sense, because it's like when you really let off such animosity, when you give so much hate, when you have so much anger within yourself and you give it to somebody that didn't necessarily deserve it, they just served as a trigger for you, you know? They just served as a trigger, and necessarily that doesn't mean that trigger was justified. They could have said something wrong to you, did something wrong to you, and even if it isn't, I guess you can say layman's terms or societally speaking, justifiable, and it's never justifiable to treat someone in such a way. But sometimes when you have those people that literally just, like, for a fact they don't deserve that treatment, they didn't deserve. Do you really sit with yourself and you're like, damn, okay, well, no, this is a me, like, I gotta sit with myself on this one. I gotta deal with it now. But it's crazy how life works like that. Like, sometimes it's really like giving our evil to innocence. Do we realize the the bigger issue within ourselves? And it's not to suggest that you're evil or that you're beyond reproach. It's just like, damn, like, I've been holding that in for so long, or I've had that fester within myself for so long that I didn't realize it until I hurt someone that didn't even need to be hurt, you know? And then do you realize, like, I've been hurting myself as you hurt because of what you've hurt somebody else with. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense. Like, I can think back to times when I've hurt somebody because I was hurting. And in the midst of me hurting because what I did to that person, that I even fully acknowledge, like, I'm hurting too. I've been hurting. Like, I hope this makes sense. And if it doesn't, you can ask for further clarification. But it's just, I am Brenda J really brought that full circle for me, because it's like what she was going through. Like she said, her husband said she couldn't have a business. Her husband said her YouTube channel wouldn't be successful. And it wasn't that it couldn't be. It wasn't that all these things necessarily applied to her. It really applied to him. But it's like, in those situations where Brenda was receiving all this hate speech, all this defamation, she was truly innocent in it all. She always encouraged her husband. She was always there for her husband. She always loved her husband. Like, she was innocent. And sometimes it takes you literally bringing your evil to innocence for you to really confront it. Like, damn, like, I really just hurt someone that didn't even deserve it. Like, for example, my previous relationship to my male significant, I feel like that's going to be a situation whenever he matures, or whenever he gains the insight to acknowledge it as it should be acknowledged, he's going to look at it and be like, damn, like, the way I treated Lamaya, I shouldn't even never like treated her like that. Like she didn't even deserve that. That really speaks to me. That really speaks to a wickedness that has festered within myself. That furthermore was externalized as it was internalized and projected onto her. You know? Hopefully this makes sense. I'm like trying to give you so many different examples to just understand like what I'm saying, but it just was a crazy revelation for me to receive. It was something that I've always understood, but to have that spiritual confirmation, it was like, damn. And to have it be told to me in the way that it was told, it was like, damn, that's hot. Damn, that's hot. But no, like, damn, that's crazy. A lot of times we can approach our triggers, and our triggers can deserve the response that we get to it. Like sometimes we can be angered by people that are seeking that out of us, and we give it to them because they deserve it. And we may have these instances happen often, but there's going to be that one instance that truly makes you acknowledge the issue and the error of your ways. And in that instance, is it really when we give our wickedness to innocence where we have to sit with like, no, like I can't even justify that. I can't even make an excuse for that. And now I have to really sit with it. I have to really sit with this and really acknowledge like, no, it's an issue. Like a lot of times when you see people that get incarcerated, or a lot of people that have to go to therapy, or a lot of people that go to these psychiatric wards, when they are in confinement, or when they actually have to like really confront what they did or what they do, like those are the places where people have those full circle moments, and it often relates to what brought them in that place to begin with. I don't know, man. That's crazy. She